The boardroom erupted in applause as Sarah watched the man she trusted most in the world stand before cameras and investors, presenting her life's work as his own. She stood frozen in the doorway, invisible, as David Collins smiled that practiced smile and accepted congratulations for the sustainable energy breakthrough that had consumed every waking hour of her last 4 years. The patent documents in his hand bore his name, not hers, never hers. Her knees wanted to buckle, her vision blurred, but somewhere deep in her chest, beneath the crushing weight of betrayal, a small flame began to burn. Because David Collins had made one critical mistake. He thought stealing her blueprints meant he had stolen everything. He had no idea that the real key to her invention existed nowhere on paper. It lived only in her mind. And hidden within every diagram he had stolen were deliberate flaws she had embedded as protection. Flaws that would soon turn his triumph into catastrophe. The room spun as she backed away from the door. 4 years. 4 years of 16-hour days. 4 years of believing David when he said they were partners. 4 years of trusting him with every detail, every breakthrough, every failure. She had been so naive, so stupid. The word echoed in her mind like a death sentence. If you are feeling the weight of this betrayal as much as Sarah is, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a like on this story and comment below where you are watching from. Because what happens next will prove that karma does not forget, and revenge is a dish best served with precision. Sarah did not go home that night. She could not face her empty apartment, where blueprints still covered every wall, where coffee cups sat half full on tables surrounded by calculations, where her entire life had been poured into something that no longer belonged to her. Instead, she walked, block after block through the city streets as rain began to fall. Cold drops mixed with hot tears on her face until she could not tell which was which. Her phone buzzed, text after text, colleagues congratulating her on the breakthrough, asking why her name was not on the announcement, questioning what happened. She turned off her phone. She could not explain what she did not fully understand herself. How had she missed the signs? When had David decided to betray her? Had any of it been real? The memory hit her like a fist. 6 months ago, David suggesting they formalize their partnership, asking her to sign documents he claimed were just standard operating procedures. She had signed without reading carefully because she trusted him, because he had held her hand after her mother died, because he had stayed up with her through countless failures and celebrated every small victory, because she loved him. That was the weapon he had used. Not just ambition, not just greed, love. He had weaponized her love against her. Sarah found herself outside a 24-hour diner, the kind of place that smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams. She slid into a booth and ordered nothing, just sat there staring at the table while her mind raced. The waitress, an older woman with kind eyes and tired feet, eventually brought her coffee anyway. "Rough night, honey?" Sarah looked up. The kindness in those eyes nearly broke her. "Someone stole something from me. Something important." The waitress nodded slowly. "Then I guess you got 2 choices. Lie down and let them win, or get back up and make them regret it." Simple words, but they landed like a hammer on an anvil. Sarah wrapped her hands around the warm coffee cup. The heat felt good, grounding, real. She thought about David standing in that boardroom, about the investors hanging on his every word, about the patent with his name on it, and then she thought about something else, something he could not possibly know. The prototype he had stolen was version 7. It worked, mostly, but it had a fatal flaw buried in the core energy conversion algorithm. A flaw she had discovered 3 weeks before David made his move. A flaw she had been working to fix in version 8. She had not documented the flaw anywhere, had not mentioned it to anyone, because she was going to present the perfected version at the industry conference next month. The version that would not just work, but would revolutionize everything. David had stolen an impressive failure. He just did not know it yet. Sarah left money on the table and walked back out into the rain. But this time her steps had purpose. This time the flame in her chest burned brighter. She had work to do. The next morning, Sarah walked into her lab like a ghost. Her assistant Jeremy looked up with questions in his eyes, but she shook her head. Not yet. She could not talk about it yet. Instead, she went to her private workspace, the one David had never had access to, and she pulled out version 8. Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah became a machine. She ate only when Jeremy forced food into her hands. She slept in 20-minute intervals on the lab couch. She refined and perfected and tested until version 8 was flawless. But she told no one. She filed no patents. She made no announcements. She just worked in silence while the world celebrated David Collins as a genius. The news coverage was everywhere. Tech magazines put his face on their covers. Investment firms threw money at him. He was interviewed on morning shows and late-night programs. He spoke about vision and innovation and the future of sustainable energy. He never once mentioned her name. It was like she had never existed. Jeremy finally cornered her on day 15. "Sarah, what is happening? Everyone is asking about you, about why you are not part of the announcement, about your role in the project." She looked at him, really looked at him. Jeremy had worked beside her for 2 years. He was 23 years old with brilliant eyes and absolute loyalty. "Can I trust you?" "With my life." David stole everything, the patents, the credit, all of it. Jeremy's face went white, then red. "That son of a..." But he stole a flawed design. He does not know it yet, but he will soon. Understanding dawned in Jeremy's eyes. "You knew. You knew he would steal it, so you..." "No, I did not know. I trusted him completely, but I got lucky. I discovered the flaw before he made his move, and I never documented it." She pulled up the schematics for version 8. "This is the real breakthrough. This is what actually works." Jeremy stared at the screen. His hands shook slightly as he scrolled through the data. "This is perfect. This is actually perfect. When are you going to go public?" "Not yet. First, I need to watch him fail." If you are on the edge of your seat right now wondering how Sarah's revenge will unfold, do not go anywhere. But first, smash that subscribe button and hit the like icon. Drop a comment telling me where you are watching from and whether you think David deserves what is coming. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. The first cracks appeared 6 weeks after David's triumphant announcement. Sarah heard about it through industry contacts. Whispers at first. The prototype was experiencing unexpected power fluctuations during extended operation tests. Nothing catastrophic, just annoying inconsistencies that David's team could not explain. David himself brushed it off publicly, called it normal testing phase adjustments, assured investors everything was on track. Sarah watched his interviews with cold satisfaction. She recognized the tight smile, the slight tension in his shoulders. He was worried. He just did not know how worried he should be. 2 weeks later, the fluctuations got worse, much worse. During a demonstration for major investors, the prototype completely shut down, just died. David's team scrambled. They reset everything. Ran diagnostics, could not find the problem. The system came back online, but the damage was done. Investors started asking harder questions. Sarah sat in her lab watching footage of the failed demonstration on her laptop. Jeremy stood beside her. "Should we feel bad? Do you feel bad?" "Not even a little bit." "Me neither." But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The flaw in David's stolen design was not a simple glitch. It was fundamental. The core energy conversion algorithm became unstable under sustained load. The longer the system ran, the more pronounced the instability became. Eventually, it would not just shut down, it would fail catastrophically. And there was no fix. Not without rebuilding from scratch. Not without understanding what Sarah understood. She had built that flaw in accidentally during version 3. Had spent months trying to solve it before finally cracking the solution in version 8. David's team could spend years trying to fix it and never succeed. Because they were brilliant engineers, but they had not walked the path she had walked. They had not made the 1,000 tiny mistakes that led to understanding. 3 months after his big announcement, David Collins looked tired. The circles under his eyes showed even through television makeup. His company had burned through millions trying to fix the problems. Investors were getting nervous. Some were pulling out. The media that had celebrated him was starting to ask pointed questions, and David had no answers. That was when Sarah made her first move. She reached out to Dr. Helen Park. Helen was 72 years old and had more respect in the sustainable energy field than anyone alive. She was also brutally honest and had zero tolerance for theft or deception. Sarah sent her a carefully worded email. No accusations, no drama. Just a simple request for a meeting to discuss recent developments in energy conversion technology. They met at a quiet coffee shop, far from prying eyes. Helen arrived exactly on time, wearing a no-nonsense suit and carrying a leather bag that had seen better decades. She sat down across from Sarah and got straight to the point. "I know who you are. I know what David Collins stole from you, and I know his technology is failing. So what do you want from me?" Sarah had not expected such directness. It threw her for a moment. Then she recovered. "I want to show you something. No strings attached. Just want your professional opinion." She pulled out her tablet and brought up the schematics for version 8. Helen put on reading glasses and studied the screen in silence. 1 minute passed, then 5, then 10. Finally, she looked up. "This is extraordinary. This solves the conversion instability problem that has plagued the field for decades. Where did this come from?" "I designed it. This is my work, my real work." Helen's eyes narrowed. "Can you prove it?" Sarah had anticipated this question. She pulled out a folder containing her original notebooks. Dated entries going back 4 years. Every calculation, every failure, every breakthrough. A clear progression from early concepts to the final perfected design. Her handwriting, her notes, her mind laid bare on paper. Helen studied the notebooks with the intensity of a judge reviewing evidence. She asked pointed questions, demanded explanations for specific design choices, pushed Sarah to defend every decision. After 2 hours, she finally sat back. "David Collins stole your work and claimed it as his own. That is clear. But he stole an inferior version. What he presented was impressive but fundamentally flawed. This," she tapped the tablet screen, "this is the real achievement. Why are you showing me this now? Because I am going to go public. And I need people to believe me. I need credibility that David has spent 3 months destroying. I need someone respected to vouch for my work. When? Soon. When his failure becomes undeniable." Helen smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had watched too many good people get crushed by ambitious frauds. "I will do better than vouch for you. I will help you destroy him." Over the next month, Sarah and Helen worked together quietly. They reached out to other respected figures in the field. Scientists, engineers, ethicists, people who valued integrity over profit. They showed them the evidence, the notebooks, the progression of work, the clear theft, and they showed them version 8, the real breakthrough. Word began to spread, quietly at first, then louder. People started asking questions about David's credentials, about his previous work, about how someone with his background could suddenly achieve such a dramatic breakthrough. The narrative began to shift. David fought back. He gave interviews defending his work. He produced his patents. He threatened legal action against anyone questioning his integrity. But the cracks kept spreading. His investors were now openly worried. His team was hemorrhaging talent, and his technology kept failing. Are you feeling the satisfaction of watching David's empire crumble? Then show this story some love. Hit that subscribe button hard, give it a like, and comment below where you are watching from and whether you have ever experienced betrayal like Sarah, because we are about to reach the moment of truth. The industry conference was scheduled for mid-November, the same conference where Sarah had planned to unveil version 8 before David stole everything. Now it would serve a different purpose. The conference organizers, aware of the controversy, had invited both Sarah and David to present. David accepted, probably thinking he could use the platform to defend himself. Sarah accepted, knowing it would be his execution. The night before the conference, Sarah could not sleep. She lay in her hotel room, staring at the ceiling while doubts crept in. What if people did not believe her? What if David's lawyers destroyed her? What if she had gotten this all wrong? Her phone buzzed, a text from Jeremy. "You got this, boss. Truth always wins, eventually." She smiled in the darkness. Truth always wins. Eventually, she had to believe that. The next morning, the conference hall was packed. Standing room only. The controversy had generated massive interest. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when Sarah and David finally faced each other publicly. The air crackled with anticipation. David presented first. He was polished, prepared. He showed slides of his technology, demonstrated video of it working, addressed the recent problems as normal testing phase issues that his team was resolving. He spoke about vision in the future and changing the world. He was convincing, very convincing. When he finished, the applause was uncertain. polite but restrained. People were not sure what to believe anymore. Then it was Sarah's turn. She walked to the podium with her heart hammering so hard she thought everyone could hear it. She looked out at the sea of faces, scientists, engineers, journalists, investors. And there in the third row, David Collins, watching her with barely concealed hatred. She began quietly. 4 years ago, I started working on a problem that has challenged this field for decades: how to create truly sustainable energy conversion at scale. I worked alone at first. Then I brought in a partner, someone I trusted, someone I loved. You could hear a pin drop in that massive room. That partner was David Collins. For 3 years, we worked together. I shared everything with him, every breakthrough, every failure, every secret. And 6 months ago, when I was close to perfecting the design, he stole it. He filed patents in his name. He took credit for work I had done. He erased me from my own story. David started to stand, but Helen Park, sitting beside him, put a firm hand on his arm. He sat back down. But David made a critical mistake. He stole version 7 of my design. Version 7 was impressive, but it was fundamentally flawed. I discovered that flaw 3 weeks before David filed his patents. I discovered it and I fixed it in version 8. I never documented the flaw, never mentioned it to anyone. I was going to unveil the perfected design here, at this conference. She pulled up a split screen. On the left, David's design. On the right, her version 8. These look similar, but watch what happens when we examine the core energy conversion algorithm. For the next 20 minutes, Sarah walked the audience through the technical details. She showed exactly where David's design would fail, explained why it was failing, proved mathematically that there was no fix without completely rebuilding from scratch. And then she showed her solution. Version 8, perfect, flawless, revolutionary. The audience sat in stunned silence as she presented test results, video demonstrations, independent verification from Dr. Helen Park and 3 other respected scientists. Everything was documented. Everything was proven. And everything pointed to one undeniable conclusion. David Collins was a fraud, and Sarah was the real genius. When she finished, the room erupted. Not in applause, in chaos. Journalists rushed to file stories. Investors pulled out phones to make urgent calls. David's team members stared at him with betrayal in their eyes, and David himself sat frozen, his face the color of old paper. Sarah looked directly at him. You thought you could steal my legacy. You thought taking my blueprints meant you took everything. But legacy is not built on paper. It is built on understanding. On the journey of failure and discovery that leads to breakthrough, you stole the destination without walking the path, and that is why you failed. She gathered her materials and walked off the stage. The room was still in chaos. Helen caught up with her in the hallway. That was magnificent. It was necessary. What happens now? Now he faces the consequences. The consequences came swiftly. Within 24 hours, David's investors filed lawsuits. His company board voted to remove him. The patent office opened an investigation. Major tech publications ran stories about the theft. His face was everywhere, but not as a genius, as a cautionary tale, as a fraud. Sarah did not gloat. She did not give vengeful interviews. She simply went back to her lab and continued her work. Because version 8 was just the beginning. She had bigger breakthroughs waiting in her mind. A legacy David could never touch. 3 weeks after the conference, Sarah received an unexpected visitor. David Collins stood in her lab doorway looking like a man who had aged 10 years in a month. Jeremy moved to block him, but Sarah waved him off. What do you want, David? He struggled to speak. I do not know. To apologize, maybe. To explain. I do not know. You stole 4 years of my life. I know. You made me doubt myself. Made me feel worthless. Made me invisible. I know. Why? Was it just greed? Ambition? David slumped against the doorframe. At first, I told myself I was protecting the work, that you were too cautious, too slow, that I could bring it to market faster. Then it became about proving I was smart enough, talented enough, worthy enough, and then he trailed off. And then I was in too deep to turn back. So I kept lying, kept stealing, kept pretending. He looked at her with hollowed eyes. I destroyed us both. No, you destroyed yourself. I am still here, still working, still creating. You took my work, but you could not take my mind. That was always mine. I am sorry. Your apology changes nothing. I know. David turned to leave, then stopped. For what it is worth, you were always the brilliant one. I was just good at pretending. Then he walked away, and Sarah never saw him again. 6 months later, Sarah's company launched version 8 commercially. It was everything she had promised and more. Clean energy at scale, affordable, reliable, revolutionary. Her face was on magazine covers. Investment poured in, and this time her name was on every patent, every article, every award. But success felt different than she had imagined. Quieter, more solid, less about validation and more about knowing she had created something real, something that would outlast her, something that was truly hers. One evening, Jeremy found her in the lab long after everyone else had gone home. You know, you do not have to work 16-hour days anymore, right? We have a whole team now. She smiled. I know, but I like it here. This is where I think best. You got your revenge. You reclaimed your legacy. Collins lost everything. You won. So why do you still look sad sometimes? Sarah considered the question. Because winning is not the same as healing. He stole something from me that I can never get back. My trust, my innocence. My belief that working hard and being good is enough. I won the war, but I still carry the wounds. Will they ever heal? I do not know, but I keep working anyway. Because the work matters more than the wounds. The legacy matters more than the pain. Jeremy nodded and left her alone with her thoughts. Sarah turned back to her designs. Version 9 was already taking shape in her mind. Better, stronger, more efficient. There was always another breakthrough waiting, another problem to solve, another piece of the future to build. That was the real key to vengeance, she realized. Not destroying your enemy, but building something so beautiful, so lasting, so undeniably yours that their theft becomes meaningless. David had stolen her work, but he could never steal her ability to create. Her mind, her vision, her relentless drive to make the world better. Those things were hers alone, and they always would be. As the city lights flickered outside her lab window, Sarah felt something shift inside her chest. The flame that had burned for revenge was transforming into something else. Not forgiveness. She could not forgive David, maybe ever, but acceptance. The understanding that his betrayal had revealed her strength. His theft had forced her to prove herself in ways she might never have otherwise. She was not grateful for the pain, but she was grateful for who she had become because of it. Sarah picked up her stylus and began sketching. Version 9 would change everything again. It would be her masterpiece. And this time, there would be no doubt about who created it. No question about whose legacy it represented. The world would know her name, not because someone else had stolen her work and failed, but because she had built something too brilliant to ignore. That was how you won. Not through revenge, through excellence, through persistence, through refusing to let betrayal destroy your ability to create. David Collins had taught her that lesson without meaning to, and for that, in some twisted way, she supposed she should thank him. But she would not. Instead, she would just keep building, keep innovating, keep proving that true genius cannot be stolen because it lives not in blueprints but in the mind that creates them. And her mind was free, unbroken, unstoppable. As midnight approached and the city fell quiet around her, Sarah smiled. Not because she had destroyed her enemy, but because she had rebuilt herself. And that, she realized, was the greatest victory of all. If this story moved you, if Sarah's journey resonated with your own struggles and triumphs, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button one final time. Give this story a like, and comment below where you are watching from and what legacy you are building that no one can ever steal from you. Because your story matters just as much as Sarah's, and the world is waiting to see what you will create. The legacy you build with integrity will always outlast the lies others tell. Remember that.